Merry Christmas and welcome to part 2 of this special robotics lesson. If you're looking for other parts, check the description below. All the links are down there. Now, in a moment, we're going to build robotic Santa sleigh by using instructions created by RoboCamp team. Now, this year we've decided to share this project with all of you as a sort of a Christmas gift to all the teachers and robotics enthusiasts around the world. Now, if you want to complete this project with me, all you need is just one Lego Education Mindstorms EV3 kit. Like the one you see basically in front of me, okay? The box is quite sturdy, so you can see there are a lot of elements, but that's good because this construction is going to be quite complex and quite long to build. You see there are 140 steps, so if you need to, you can always pause this video and divide this stage into 2 or 3 parts whenever you have time to complete it. So no, don't worry about it. Now, if you are a teacher watching this lesson, remember that all the instructions you'll see you can use with your students too. Not only by showing them this video, but also in a more interactive form. Now, if you're interested, we have, if I remember correctly, more than 150 or 60 lessons, okay? More, so check out our website and see what we have to offer. If you're interested, links are also in the description. Now, if you are ready, let's start building Santa's sleigh. Since we're building a robot, this means that in addition to gears, bricks, axles, pins, we're going to need some electronics, and they should be hiding under your sorting tray. And to power those electronics, we need batteries, charged batteries inside your EV3 brick. Now, we don't need them for the building stage, but make sure you have charged batteries inside your EV3 brick before we get to the coding stage, which is the last stage of our lesson. Otherwise, you won't be able to test this construction. Okay, now I'm going to move this kit to the side right here, okay, so that first of all I can find the bricks I want, and second of all so that you can see how my construction looks like right here. Okay, so let's see what's the first step in this construction. All right, here you can see how all of the next steps will kind of look like. Okay, first you can see how all the elements are connected, but also above my head you can see all the elements that we need for this particular step. And for this one we need one medium motor. Okay, I have mine right here, so far without the cable, okay, and 4 pins with friction, and one very small red axle. It's only 2 stones long, and it's with those 2 notches on each side. Okay, I have everything I need right in front of me. So basically all I need to do is to connect it as it is shown in the instructions. Okay, just like so. Now, of course, you can do it too, okay? All right, this is how this looks like. It's exactly well, it looks exactly as it is shown in the instructions, okay? So basically you can either follow me or the instructions, it's okay. Now that I've completed this step, I'll proceed to the second one, okay? And you can see here that this time we need a gear and two bricks, okay, that have 3 holes, and they should be black. Okay, I found one and the other one as well. And the gear is right here as well. Okay, so all I need to do right now is to connect these elements like so. Now, guys, I know I am not the speediest builder, but remember that building robots is not a speed run, okay? Actually, when you're creating complex constructions like this one, it's very important to make as little errors as possible, because, well, you would have to fix them later on, and the more complex a construction is, the more difficult correcting mistakes in construction is. Okay, so don't hurry too much. Okay, let's go to the next slide, and this time we need a frame like this one. Okay, and we need to put it on top of this motor. Now I'm going to close this window so that we can see better how to do it. Okay, well, basically we just need to place it like so. So right now it's really loose, it can easily fall down, so I just stay it on my desk and go to the next step. Now this time you can see that we need 2 axles. Each of them must be 5 studs long each. Okay, now there's a very easy way to measure it, and I'll show you how to do it by using 2 different axles. Okay, you can see that their length differs significantly. How to measure it? Okay, you can either use the measure that they provide with this set, but it's actually much easier if you take a long beam like this one and then just put your axle right next to it and count how many holes does it cover completely. Okay, then you will know how long this axle is exactly. So maybe let's do it with the shorter one. This one is exactly 5 studs long. Okay, maybe let me show you on a close-up as well. All right, right here you can see that this axle is 5 holes or studs long. Okay, which means that we need, for this step, we need another one just like this. Okay, so let me find it now. Okay, those 2 are exactly the length that we need for this step. Okay, so all there's left to do is to connect them. Now, since we're using those axles to connect this element, okay, oh, watch out, you see I have pushed it a bit too far, so I'm going to use the other axle to push this first one out. Okay, and then I need to pull this one out so that we have free space here in the middle, just as it is shown in the instructions. Okay, next we need one large motor, slightly longer axle. This time it must be 7 studs long, and a connector exactly as the one you can see behind me. Okay, first I'll find a motor. Oops. Okay, this one is also with the cable that I'm going to put aside just for now. One axle. Okay, now to speed things up, I will just measure those axles by using my mouse pad, on which, as you can see, I also have this small place where I can measure axles, and for me it's gonna be slightly more efficient, okay? But you guys, if you need to, make sure you measure all the axles, okay? By using the beam method if you want to. Okay, I also have the connector right here. So before and after, as you can see, first the connector goes right here and the axle should go right through the motor. And let's try to push it so that it's kind of in the middle of the motor, okay? Just like so. Next. Okay, we need to find one bushing, one full bushing as I call it. All right, as well as one wheel with this small tire. I'll put the tire on first. Okay. All right, bushing goes on one side and a wheel on another. Oh, by the way, have you already guessed which part of the Santa's sleigh are we building right now? I bet you have. We are now using a lot of motors, which means that we are building the sleigh itself. Okay, for the next step, we need once again a small wheel with a tire and one very, very long beam. It should be 13 studs long. Now, once again, I'm going to use my little measurement, mouse pad measurement right here, okay? But you guys make sure you count the number of holes right here because it's quite important, okay? Now, once we have all that, I'm going to minimize this window with the parts, and this is how it should look like, okay? So this should go obviously right here on the side, and the other wheel must be right next to the first one. Like so. Next we need a connector, quite like the last one we've used, okay? So just like this one. And one pin with friction, with bumps. If you guys are not sure what friction and frictionless means, just take a closer look at how this pin looks like, okay? It has very, very small bumps on its surface. Now let me maybe show you and compare it with a completely smooth pin, okay? Now this one, the one we need for this step, if you take a close look, might not be very well visible in the camera, but I'm sure it will be visible to your naked eye. It has very small bumps on it, but this one, this is a smooth pin, completely smooth. You see that, yeah, its surface is smooth. It means it has no, or rather very little, but it's called no friction pin, okay? This one goes back to the box, back to the sorting tray. This one with friction we need for this step. And now obviously we need to connect those elements. This is how it should look like. All right, so let's put it exactly here. Okay. And proceed to the next step. Okay guys, now we need to connect these two elements, and the best way when you're connecting bigger elements is to position them exactly as you can see them in the instructions. So for me it would be a bit like that, yeah. Okay, and now you can see in the instructions how these elements should be connected, okay? This is after, okay? Before and after. And let me show you on a close-up how to connect them as well. Okay, so basically those elements must be connected here, and this pin should go right here. And we may need to use just a little bit of force. Okay, but don't break any pins, okay? They're much too precious. All right, everything is in its place. This is how it looks like right now. But obviously this is not over, so let's go back to the instructions. And next, okay, we're building something new, so I'm gonna put this part aside for a moment and find all that we need for this particular step, which is a small gear, not the smallest, but quite small one, okay? Half bushing. It's very tiny, as you can see. Okay, this is how it looks like. And one axle with a stop at the end. Okay. All right, there we go. As you saw, I have all elements sorted out, but it still sometimes takes a moment to find all of them. Okay, this is how they should be connected. So first we slide the gear to the very end of this axle, and then add half bushing next. Yep, quite straightforward. So let's see what's next. Now we need one other bushing of the same type. Okay, it's right here, and we also need a connector. This one is slightly different. Okay, there we go. So you can expect that we're going to be adding axles to it very soon. Okay, so first slide the connector and add the half bushing. It can still move freely, that's okay. And next we need to find two half pins, half axles. Now, as you can see in the instructions, they are blue. This is important because this shows that we actually need those pins to have friction, okay? So bumps. And we also need axle connector right here. Okay. Okay, once we're done with that, let's attach this element to this existing larger part. Okay, notice here that the teeth of those two gears, this one and this one, must be meshed at this point, okay? So first we need to make sure that this pin goes into this hole right here, but also that the teeth are meshed. If you need to adjust the position of this gear, okay, mine is connected all right, okay. Okay, here's a quick close-up for you. And let's go back to the instructions. Now guys, we push this aside for a moment and we need to find another large motor. It's right here. An axle that is 7 studs long. It's too long, I need to find another one. Okay. And a connector. And this, by the way, guys, we are now building the second powered wheel for the slanted sleigh. Okay. This is going to be built quite similarly as the first one, okay? But don't build it exactly identically as we did the previous one, because well, we're gonna end up with two with one side that doesn't fit. Okay, they should the position of individual elements in this part must kind of mirror one another. Okay. Okay. Now I will close this element, this window. All right. Okay, we need those two. The first connector goes right here on top and the pin goes inside the beam. Now we need to connect these once again, okay? So not only this time we need to make sure that the connector and pin fits, but also we need to pay attention to this pin right here, okay? So first let me show you the before and after. And now I will show you how to connect it on a close-up. Alright, we have those parts here. Now this pin should go right into the second hole. Now once again, remember we may need to use a little bit force, but just a little bit, okay? Alright. Otherwise we might break those elements and we don't want that to happen. Okay. Next, guys, we need to find some pins, and a lot of them. First, 4 pins with friction, the usual type, okay? And then we also need to find those longer pins. Now those guys also can be friction or non-friction type, but all of the parts we need for this step need to be with friction, which means with bumps. Okay, this is before and after. Okay. Next we need to find a beam which is 11 studs long, and is this one. We also need those two slightly different connectors, half beams, half hole, cross-shaped hole. Okay. Okay, they are here as well. Let's see what we need to do with them. Okay, so first I need to place the beam right here and make sure it is centered. Next I need to slide those elements. Next, two more pins, of course. You might have noticed that in robots created from Mindstorms, pins are quite essential because those are the elements that tie other crucial elements together. Okay. Next, okay, we are adding our first two bent beams. Two. They are right here. Okay, so let's see what we need to do. Okay, so basically we need to use those parts to kind of connect these elements together, create a sturdy base of sorts. Let's see what next. Whew, we have a lot to add in this part. Okay, so for a moment I will just move this base aside. Find, I think it's the longest beam in my set. It has to be 15 studs long. Okay, one pin axle, one pin, and one connector. Okay. Next, we need to find one bent beam. It's white. I hope you can see it well. And also one very, very small blue beam. Okay, this one, smaller one, goes right here. And the bent beam should be right here. Now we need two more pins on the other side, which tells us that something is about to be connected here. Another very long beam, and this one should go right here. Now when connecting these two elements, pay attention to the number of holes that should be left. Okay, this is a good indicator where to connect it. 5, okay, which means that this pin should go here. Oh, right. I don't know if you've seen this, but I actually made a mistake. Fortunately, I have noticed it soon enough. Okay, now this is as it is supposed to look like. I'm sorry if you guys have followed my lead and made a mistake as well. Take a few seconds to correct it. I'll wait. I'm sure you're done by now, so let's go to the next step. Okay, and connect this skid to our construction. Okay. All right, this is, first take a look at the instructions, how it should be connected. And now I'll show you on a close-up how to do it too. Okay. Those connectors need to quite obviously be connected right here to the motor, and this axle should go right here. Okay. Now, whenever you're connecting these elements, you may need to use just a little bit of force, okay? Okay, done. Okay. And now, quite obviously, we need to build the second skid, okay, on the other side. So once again, let's find very, very long beam. One pin, one axle pin, and a connector. Oops, okay, it's the wrong one. I need to find a no friction pin. Okay, it goes right here. Once we've done that, we need to find one bent beam and small blue beam. Okay. Next, 2 pins. All right. And long beam once again. Okay, it should go here. Yep. Just like so. Okay. And now we need to connect it to our sleigh. Once again, this connector goes right here, and the axle goes over here. Once you're sure you have everything adjusted, use a little bit of force to push those elements together to join them. Okay. It kind of starts looking a bit like a sleigh, doesn't it? Thanks to those two skids. Okay, before, after. And now guys, we need to build something else. This time we need to find a beam that is 13 studs long. Okay. One or rather two longer pins with friction and two angled connectors like these ones. Okay, first maybe I'll minimize this window and let's see how they're supposed to be connected. Okay, they will hold very well. Next, lots of pins, 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 small green beams. Now remember guys that if you are not sure where exactly a part and element should go next, try holding it exactly as you can see it in the instructions, okay? And then just play, well, where's the difference? If there are none, that's great. That means you are doing perfectly well. Okay, now we need to connect it to the back of our sleigh, okay, just by using those 2 longer pins right here. They should be connected to motors. Okay. And now we need to add the brick. So let's find it. The brick is the most important element in any Mindstorms robot. Okay. Now we need to place it on this construction by using those 4 pins. Okay. Once it is installed, that's how it should look like. Okay, so let me show you on a close-up how I'm going to connect mine. Okay, the brick should basically be connected to those pins you see here by those holes, okay, and it should the other parts of it should be basically resting on top of the motors. Okay, so what we basically need to do is to make sure that the pins fit, that they are positioned in a correct way, and for me it's quite difficult to do because I already have batteries inside the EV3 brick, so it's a bit on the heavier side, you know. But what I can do is just to switch, change the position of the sleigh rack, so, okay, and everything is exactly where it should be. Yeah, okay, good. Now let's go back to the instructions. Okay, next thing we need to do is to add cables. Now, cables are essential to connect the brick to all the other electronics in our moto. Okay, I have one right here. Okay, now if you're looking for them, make sure you check underneath your sorting tray. Okay, and this is part where we need to pay special attention to the ports. Okay, so the first cable we use is to connect port A, okay, to the right large motor. Okay, now make sure you don't bend those cables too much, otherwise, well, they might not work. Okay. Next, let's use another cable, but this time to connect the medium motor, which is right here, to the C port. Now when you're connecting cables, when you are plugging them, you should hear this click sound. All right. And we have one more to go. I have my third cable right here, and it should connect the left, okay, the left large motor to the port D. Okay. This is how it looks like. Make sure you connect the right motors to the right ports exactly as they are shown in the instructions, okay? Because this way you won't have any problems when we start coding. Okay, next we need to, guys, put this basic sleigh aside and find beam that is 13 studs long. Okay, I think this one is too short. This might be it. Yep. 2 pins with friction and 4 long pins with friction too. Okay, there we go. Oh, don't run away, please. Okay. I'll start with those because they want to run away. Okay. Next we need to find 2 connectors like the one we see in the instructions and this socket for ball. Okay, connectors are here. I also have the socket already with a ball. I'm not going to take it out. It definitely needs a ball, and since both of these elements of mine are already connected, I'm going to use it as it is, okay? So first I need to place the connectors on the long pins. And the ball goes right here. Yeah, if your socket does not have this ball, and now's the time to put it, okay? I'll wait for a moment. And once you're done, let's see what's next. We need to add this sort of a third wheel to the sleigh, to the back of the sleigh under the EV3 brick. Okay, and it should be connected to those motors here. Now let me show you on a close-up how I connect it. Okay, we have this part right here, and those pins should be inserted here and here. Once you're sure that everything is positioned exactly as it should be, okay, kind of like this, now's the time to use a bit of force and and try to push this element. You know what, maybe I will just do it up like so. It's so much easier. I don't have to hold it. I can use both of my hands. Okay, now this way. Oops. Okay, I have one side in. And the other is in as well. This part was a bit tricky, but I have managed to do it. I hope you guys did too. Okay, it's really tricky, but yeah, but it's holding, it's keeping, that's okay. This is how it looks like from another angle, and as you can see, now my sleigh won't be dragged down by the EV3 brick in the back. Okay, there's still a lot more we need to do, so I'll put this aside for a moment, and this time we need to find two beams that are 7 studs long and this very peculiar connector to join them. Okay, 2 pins, and now we need to find 2 long beams. Well, I'm not even gonna measure them. Those are the longest beams I still have. Okay, so I know that they are the right ones. Oops. Okay, now for now they are quite flimsy yet, so we'll need to change it in a moment. Okay, and now we need to connect this part to the sleigh by using an axle, which is 7 studs long. This might be it. Yep. And 2 connectors. Now notice that those are not those longer pins, okay? Because they do not have a pin on one side. They actually have a bushing, okay? So make sure you don't pick those blue longer pins, but rather those red elements with bushings at one end. Okay, first let's take a look at the instructions, how we should connect them. Okay, before and after. And now let me show you on a close-up how I'll do it. All right, so this part, okay, first we need to move it like so, okay, kind of move the position of these, okay, and the gray beams should go right here, and we should connect them with these elements. And then later on, we must also connect those white beams right here, this time by using the axle. So I'll start maybe from the bottom, it's gonna be easier for me. And you know what, I'm just gonna move it to the side, like so. Yep. it's just so much easier for me. Okay. Okay, first this part needs to go right here. This one, the red one, let's go here. Okay, and I have already managed to attach those gray beans on the bottom. And now I need to do the same with the white ones, this time by sliding this axle through them, through both of them. Okay, done. This is how it looks like right now. The axle is right here, and those two elements are right here. All right, congratulations everyone. We deserve it. We have completed 1/3 of our project. We already have the base, which is the sleigh itself. And now we still have left this robotic Santa and reindeer. So now we're going to create our flying reindeer. I will put this slide just a bit, maybe in the corner so we don't forget about it, but you know, it's not the main focus. And if you are ready, we will now create the robotic reindeer, or if you want to, you can pause this video, get yourself a warm cup of tea or coffee, whatever you drink. Okay, so now if you are ready, we need to find some more elements. First, we need an axle with a stop at its end. It must be 8 studs long, okay? And we also need one connector. Okay, yeah, there we go. Goes right here. You know what? Maybe I'll push it, yeah, like here. Okay, next, we need to find the worm. It's right here. And also one very small connector. First the worm. And like so. Now you may need to hold those elements with your hands for now because they are swaying around. Okay, but that is all right. Okay, now we need one more connector and also an axle connector, like this one. Okay. Now we need 3 very small axles. Each of them must be only 3 studs long. 1, 2, 3, and one axle connector of a slightly different type. All right, all the axles must be more or less in the middle. And the axle connector must be at the very end. Okay. Okay, next we need to find a large bent beam like this one. And connect it to those other axles, beginning from here. One, two, and three. Okay. Now it's best to hold it like so for a moment for now, until you make sure that those elements won't fall off. Okay. Now we need an axle that is 5 studs long and a long pin. This time smooth long pin. Okay. Now guys, we need a small gear. This time this one is very small. It has only 8 teeth. Okay, and a connector like the one you see on the instructions. Connector goes right here. And the gear goes on this longest axle. And notice that those teeth must be meshed, okay? Once again. Now we need another bent beam, just like the previous one, just like the other one. One very short axle with notches. And a connector. Okay, now this looks kind of tricky, so let's see how we should connect it. Okay, once again, yep. So first we actually need to connect those 2 elements, okay, in the front, I guess. Okay, so first I'll connect it right here. And now I will use this small axle. Try and insert it, alright, so that those 2 are connected. And now I will place this bent beam just like so. Now is also the time to make sure that the position of those short axle is exactly in the middle, so you can press your fingers to check that. All right. Okay, everything is connected. So let's go to the next stage, next part. And this time, guys, okay, we need those 2 small black bricks, okay? And 2 long pins with friction. Okay, pins should go right here, 1 and 2. Now, try to make sure that those black elements, those black short beams we're adding right now are in exactly or very similar position to how you can see them in the instructions, okay? Oh, so kind of like this, not this, but this. Let me show you on a close-up as well, okay? This is how it should look like. It shouldn't be tilted in any way, rather in exactly the same position as it is right now. Okay. Next up, guys, we need to find 2 smooth pins. and one beam that is 9 studs long. Okay, this one is a bit too long, but this one is perfect. Oh, by the way, guys, I think I've made a mistake. I think it's okay because I can fix it very quickly. Notice that I have actually placed those two black elements in exactly the same position. I shouldn't have. What I should have done is placed it like so, okay? One kind of more to the back, the other to the front, okay? Now I have quickly fixed that, okay? So if you've also made that mistake, make sure you correct it. If you haven't, congrats, good job. Okay, and now last thing I need to do is to add this beam, okay? Good. Next we need to find a big bent beam. Okay, I have it right here, and I also need two long pins. This time with friction. Okay, and now we need to place them just how deep? Okay. Okay. Next we need to find a smaller bent beam and connect it to the first one. Okay, now let's find a connector. All right. And we need to place it right here. Okay. Okay, first I'll place this, attach this beam. And the pin, smooth pin mind you, goes right here and between them. Now we need an axle connector. Okay, there it is. And next we need to connect these elements. Now, mind you, we also need to connect them by using one very short axle, which is only 3 studs long, and another longer axle, okay? Maybe not this long. Okay. This one should be more or less 8 studs long. Okay, so let's see how to connect these, okay? First, pay attention to the instructions before and after. And now let me show you how I connect them on a close-up. All right, well, basically what I need to do is place one element over the other. And first I'm going to connect these elements by using the short axle. I just need to slide this axle through all the elements to connect them, okay? And once that is done, I need to slide the other axle right here. All right. this is how it looks like. Okay guys, now we need to find 2 bushings and 2 long pins, but this time smooth pins. Okay. Okay, next bent beam and those 2 kind of triangle-like looking elements. All right, they are right here. You can either connect them 2 at once or just 1 by 1. Okay, I'm actually gonna do 1 by 1 because this way it's easier. 1 and 2. Okay. Now the bent beam. Next we need to find a shorter axle with stop at the end. Okay, try it here. Okay, and we need to connect these 2. So first I need to slide it through this bent beam and then through those 2 elements till the very end, like so. It doesn't look like reindeer yet, I know, but don't worry, it soon will. Okay, now we need once again those elements, but this time we need to place them on the other side. And once again I'm gonna do it 1 by 1 just because it's easier. There you go, they are installed on a smooth pin, which is why they can move around so much. Okay, but first we need to make sure that they move together. So for that we need 1 axle pin, smooth, and we need to place it right there on top to connect these 2. Okay. Next, we're creating something else, so I'll put this part of our future reindeer to the side and gather all the elements I need for this step. Too long. Okay. Now all that's left to do is to connect them. So all right. Next. Okay, next I need a small tiny beam, yellow beam this time. Okay, and we need to place it right here, but below this smooth long pin. And once that is done, we need to get another bent beam and place it like so. So first, obviously, I need to slide it onto the axle. Okay. Now it's a good idea to adjust the position of the axle once you've placed this beam, because it's quite possible that it's no longer in the middle. Now we once again need a lot of long pins, but this time only smooth ones. And also one short axle. Okay, this is how it looks right now. Okay, now we need 2 half bushings and 1 yellow beam. Alright, I got them right here. The beam goes right here. And the bushings should be on the axle. Next, 1 more yellow beam. This time it must connect those 2 pins. Alright. And next we need to find the slightly larger bent beam to connect, well, a lot of elements here, okay? So first, this is before, this is after. Okay, so you want to first slide this element onto an axle, then adjust the position of all the elements, and once you're sure they are in the correct position, push a bit those elements together to join them. And this is how it should look like. All right, everyone. Let's see what's next. Okay, we need 2 bent beams, and this element kind of starts to look like something, doesn't it? Which part of the reindeer do you think it's gonna be? All right, now we need 2 half pins. One goes here, the other in the same place on the other side. Okay, and now we need to add those really fun looking elements, okay? They're kind of like fins, but certainly not in our case, no. In this model, those will be the antlers of our reindeer. Cool, yeah. Now this is really looking nice. Now all we need to do is basically connect this head of the reindeer to the other parts of its body, okay, by using those long pins, which should be attached to the top of this beam. Okay, now it starts to look like a reindeer, doesn't it? Okay, but it's certainly missing some elements, so let's just proceed to the next steps. Okay, now we need to find a beam that is 9 studs long and use it on the other side of the reindeer's head. Okay. Now, at this point, you can observe an interesting movement, and that is the connection between the movement of the reindeer's head and something happening in the middle here. Okay. Now, it's not done yet, so what we need to do right now is to find all those elements. Okay, so first the beam, which is 7 studs long. This one is too long, but this one is perfect. One bent beam as well, and a short axle. Okay, it's right here. All right. Next, we need to have bushings. Okay, there they are. One on each end of the axle. Okay. And we need to attach this element to the reindeer. Okay, but by using this axle right here. Okay, so you can see that this element can still easily fall off, so watch out. And to stop it from happening, we need half bushing. Let's place it on this axle. Okay, great. Once that is done, we need to find one more bent beam and an axle. Okay. And this one must be attached to 2 elements at the same time. Okay, first it needs to be right here in this element. Okay, before and after. All right. Now, first pay attention to the instructions, okay? And now I'll show you how to connect these elements on a close-up. Now, before we use this element, we actually need to align this beam right here with this element here. The end should be in exactly the same place as this part, okay? This is how it should be aligned, because the axle that is right here will go through not only this beam, but also through this part right here, okay? So now that you have aligned this, take the other element and slide it first here. And at this point, mind you, you must also align it with this pin, okay? Which is right here, okay? And this is, once it is aligned, make sure you push it, and voila, the leg is installed. Okay, now's the time to create more than 2 legs for the reindeer. So I'll put this element aside and find all the elements that we need for this step. Okay, now remember that all the elements needed for each step you can see right above my head, okay? Okay, now that I have everything, I'm going to close this window because I want to see how these 2 elements should be connected. All right. Oops, watch out, they can fall off easily. Okay, now that it's done, I need 2 half bushings. And now's the time to connect this leg to the reindeer. Okay, just slide it onto our model. Okay, next we need half bushing. Okay. And once that is done, we need to find another bent beam and short axle. Okay, and it should go right here. Notice that this time we are making this element, we are joining this element in slightly different way, okay? So first let me show you the before and after in these instructions. This is before, this is after, before and after. And now I'll switch to close-up. So first we need to more or less try and align this beam with this element right here. The end of it should create a one entrance, okay? Just like it does right now. Okay, once we've covered that, okay, this is where we need to insert this axle. And once we're done with that, it will come the time to also insert this pin, not into the third, but into the fourth, I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, no, I'm sorry, into the third hole right here, okay? Okay. Okay. This is how it should look like, and notice that the legs of our reindeer on the left and right side are in different positions. Okay, that's good. That's exactly how it should look like. Okay, so if you're happy with your reindeer, let's go back to the instructions. The reindeer looks great, looks almost magical, but it cannot really go anywhere on its own. It has to be connected to the sleigh to actually help Santa take care of all the gifts. Okay, so now we need to connect it to our sleigh. And for that, first we're going to need an axle that is 12 studs long. Like this one. Now we need to insert it into this axle connector right here. Okay. Once that is done, we need to take our sleigh and insert the other end of this axle right here. Okay. Okay, if you need to adjust the position of the axle, and then as delicately as you can while still making sure that the axle is inside the connector, slide this reindeer. And here I want you to actually try and hold this reindeer in this position, because well, just having one axle to hold it is not enough. And just holding it like that, let's proceed to the next step and find two long connectors, okay? And let's use them to connect the reindeer. Okay, this is where they should go. The first one right here. This is a bit tricky, so if you want to ask someone to help you, okay. And now the reindeer is connected. Okay, let me show you on a close-up how it looks like. Okay. This is how my reindeer is connected to the Santa sleigh. It's not actually yet Santa's sleigh. After all, we still don't have Santa here. We'll create him in a moment. Congratulations, everyone! 2/3 of this construction are now complete. All that's left to create is the robot Santa himself. So I will just push this reindeer and sleigh to the side for a moment and then complete the remaining steps. Okay, everyone, now we need a longer axle with a stop at its end. Like this one. It should be 8 studs long, and it is. We also need a connector. Like this one. And we need to just slide it to the very end of the axle. Once that is done, we need to find 2 short axles. And I mean very short, okay? Those red ones with notches. They are only 2 studs long. Next, we need to add one band beam. And once that is done, we need to find some more elements. Okay, first an axle that is 5 studs long and a connector. Slide it right into the middle. Okay. And 2 bushings. Now remember everyone, if you want to double check something, if you need a little bit more time, just pause this video, go back, okay? And double check to make sure that everything is perfect with your robot. All right. Now we need to connect these two. Oops. Just by sliding this element right here. Okay, now guys, we need one more band beam red. Yeah, I think we're building a Santa Claus here. And also a gear. This time we need a gear that has 24 teeth. Okay, first I will attach the band beam on the bottom. Okay, and then slide the gear down. All right. Now guys, we need to find an element wheel which looks exactly like this one. Now in my case, I need to actually look under the sorting tray. Okay, it's right there, which may be the case for you too. Once you found it, let's just place it on this axle. Once again, let's move it to the bottom. Okay. Next, let's find another one just like this. All right. And a third. All right. Okay. And now we need to find actually part of a track with 10 segments on it. Okay. So you may need to kind of detach some of the segments so that they form an element just 10 segments long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, we already have 10 here. I will also show you how to connect and disconnect these elements. Okay. Now this is a track that is connected, but each of these elements, if you just push it slightly, can be disconnected and just work on its own. To connect them, use this part, this front part, with the back basically. And once they are close, just connect them like so until you have 10 connected segments of track. Once you do, basically we need to take them and wrap them around those 3 wheels that we have installed, okay? Okay, and basically it. All right. Now take a moment if you need to, and if you have already managed to connect this track to those wheels, let's move forward. Okay, now we need to find another bent beam with one smooth pin and a small element like one you see in the instructions, okay? Okay. We need 2 axle pins. One right here and the other inside the bent beam. Okay, and now we need to connect this element to, well, our our barrel. How do you think, what is it gonna be? Okay, so basically try to adjust the position of this track exactly or as closely as it can be to the instructions, okay? And use this pin to connect it to the track. All right. Okay, once that is done, let's create another. Pay attention that these are actually smooth axle pins. This is important, okay? And now we need to place it on the other side of the barrel, okay? Exactly on the other side. So if you, for example, have installed it over here, place it right here. All right. Now that we've done this, let's see what is next. Okay, now we need to find one long pin with friction and 2 axle pins with friction as well, together with this brick. Okay, first I'm gonna place the long pin right here and the axle pins on the sides. Okay, next we need 2 red small beams. Like so. Okay, and now we need to find 2 axle pins and 2 connectors with, or rather 2 long pins with bushings at the ends. Okay guys, now we are approaching the end of our instructions, okay? How are you doing? I hope you're doing great. I know that you're doing great. You are so far in this construction. I know it's a long one, but believe me, it will be worth it. Okay, before and after. Yep, notice that this time we are not inserting those long pins all the way, but rather letting them kind of stay inserted in just 1/3. Now we need 2 more bent beams. And we need to place them one here, the other over here. Okay. Next, we need 2 pins with friction. Oops. Okay, now guys comes the time when we need to adjust this element so that it is in this exact position. Okay, once you've done that, we need to create another element. First, let's find 2 pins that we need to connect these. And let's find those 2 elements. Now, in my case, they are hidden under the sorting tray. They are quite big after all. This is how they look like. Okay, so I need to connect them kind of this way, right? Okay, so first I will take just 1 part, add pins, and only then join it with the other part. Okay. Now that's done, we need to find 2 long pins. 2 long pins with friction. Okay. And we need to join it a bit further with this element that you can see over there. Okay, it kind of looks like glasses, but not exactly. Okay, so let's just push it onto those long pins. Okay, and now we need a small axle and this very small element. Okay, first goes, this is kind of tricky. Okay. It needs to be positioned this way. So first I need to adjust the position of this gray element and only then slide the axle so that those 2 stay together. Okay. Now there's a lot is happening here. Okay, so first maybe let's find all the elements. All right. This is how it looks like before and after. Okay, now it's much more clear. Before and after. First, I'm going to take this element and just slide it on top. And then, okay, yeah, that's how it should go. right first through this red element first, okay, slide it and then attach it to, well, to this element, that I would describe as a beard. Okay, oops. Once again. Oh, by the way, you can notice that this element, this red element is just slightly different on one side and another. So actually I'm gonna switch sides, you know. It really doesn't matter in the construction wise, but I think it would bother me a bit, so I just changed them. Swapped the sides. Okay. Before and after, and this is how my element looks like. Okay. Next we need to find 2 axle pins and install them here in the front. Ooh, now you see we need those 2 white elements. And we need to install them right here, and it already looks so interesting because it looks like a mustache of our Santa Claus, robotic Santa. Yeah, and it looks absolutely awesome. Okay, next we need to connect this element to this one. Okay, and first pay attention to the instructions. Okay, we need to use those 2 pins and connect them to get something like this. Okay, before and after. And now I'll show you on a close-up how I'm going to do this. Okay, so first of all I need to take those 2 elements, and just as the instruction shows, those 2 pins must go right here. Okay, and done. Okay, next we need to find 2 bevel gears, which are not actually gonna act as gears in this case. They're gonna become eyes. So let's place them on those pins right here. 1 and 2. Okay. Next, we need to install the head of our Santa onto his body. So for this, we obviously need to place this part, this element to be exactly right here, this gray one, on the axle. Now this is a bit delicate, okay? So don't use too much force, but try and make sure that everything is in the right position. Okay. And this is how my Santa looks like. I think he's absolutely cute. Okay. So yeah, now but still there are some steps we need to finish up. Okay, so let's see. Okay, first of all we need to place our Santa onto the sleigh, and obviously for that we're going to use this element, this part right here. Okay, and those 2 pins here. So first, as usual, pay attention to the instructions, and later on I'll show you how I connected on my robot. Okay, this is before, this is after. Before and after. And now let's switch to the close-up. Okay, so basically I need to take this part and install it over here. I'm gonna move this construction around just a bit so that I can see better. Okay. And good. My Santa is now installed right here on top of its sleigh. Alright everyone, now the finishing touches, okay? I'll move this sleigh right here and let's find all the elements that we still need. This one is too long. This one. And also an axle connector. Okay, this way we have one super long axle. Okay, and we need those two connectors on either side. Okay. 1 and 2. Okay, now we need 2 elements more. First one and the other. Okay. Notice that we are not pushing this this axle to the very end. Okay, it can stay like this. And now we need to use it to connect the left hand of Santa and a reindeer. First, I will slide this part onto this axle, okay, of the reindeer. Or you know what? Let me first show you before and after. Before and after. And now on a close-up. Okay. First I will slide this right here. Now this element must be right here on this axle. And this one actually must be connected to the hand, to the left hand of our Santa. Good. Okay, really good. Okay, let's go back to the instructions and see what else we need to do. We need to add bushing right here at the end to make sure this doesn't fall off. And now we need to create another axle just like we did before. This one is too long. This one is too short. Okay. This one is good. And 7. And of course an axle connector. Oops. Oh, there we go. Okay, so basically we need to connect these 2 axles. Now add those connectors on both ends. Now once again we need this axle with a stop and a small connector. And once again, remember not to insert this axle all the way down, but rather leave some space for this part to move around. And finally, we need to connect this long axle to our reindeer and Santa. This time, this element must be right here, attached to right here, and this end, of course, should be attached to the right hand of the Santa. First, let me show you on the instructions. This is before, this is after, before and after, and now let me show you on a close-up. All right, so let's start with this side. Okay, this element must be connected to this pin right here. Now this part must of course be connected to the right hand of our Santa. All right, and this, guys, this is how the complete robotic Santa sleigh or robotic Santa looks like. Okay, let me show it to you from every angle I can. All right. It doesn't really move much yet. We still need to create a program for it. But before we do create this program, we must also understand how this construction is supposed to work, okay? How all these mechanisms are connected together and which commands will make it move exactly how we want to. Good job, everyone. You've managed to create an amazing construction. As you can see, it's pretty big and it's gonna be absolutely awesome once we create a program for it and control it. But okay, if you want to complete this project with me, proceed to the next part of this lesson, to the third part, okay? And we will then learn a bit more about this construction, focus on how is it supposed to work, which elements we can program, so on and so forth. Anyhow, guys, I want to say I am proud of you. This was certainly a long and complex build. And I'm really happy that you enjoyed building this robot together with me. So I'll see you in the next video, you guys. And if you want to see other constructions by us, by RoboCamp, be sure to check out links in the description. And of course, if you liked it, we will also appreciate thumbs up. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you in the next part of Santa's sleigh lesson.